Good evening. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching the biggest exclusive tonight. I'm Ridhima Bhatnagar. From Vedic mathematics to now Bhagavad Gita in schools in Karnataka. Karnataka School Education Minister B.C. Nagesh during the ongoing assembly session has said that the government will introduce Bhagavad Gita in schools and colleges from this academic year itself. He added that the Bhagavad Gita will be a part of moral education from this year and a committee will then be formed soon to take a decision on the same. Now, what we are also now understanding is that the State Education Minister, in fact, has been mulling the inclusion of the Bhagavad Gita in schools and colleges for a while now. The state government has claimed that the Gita, unlike the Quran or the Bible, is not a religious book. Instead, it teaches the values of life. Now, condemning B.C. Nagesh's statements, Ajay Karna, the secretary of the All India Democratic Students Organization in Karnataka, has gone on to say, and I'd like to quote, "In the name of moral education, the government is trying to sneak religious matters into education by proposing to teach Bhagavad Gita. Ancient education system for centuries has kept majority of people, including the poor, Dalits, oppressed, and women away from learning and receiving education," end quote. He'd also gone on to add that including the Gita is a ploy to introduce unscientific, old and blind ideas among students and create a rift among them for political gains. But the Karnataka is not the only state. Uttarakhand, Madhya Pradesh, Himachal and Gujarat are among other states who've either already introduced or plan to do so. So is this a bid to educate students, or will this further saffronize the education system?
Bhagavad Gita as a subject will not be taught. We are thinking Bhagavad Gita in the moral sciences classes, which we are thinking of introducing this year.
This is just saffronization to ensure saffronization, but also to kill scientific temperament.
So the criticism that's now coming in from the opposition parties is that this is a pattern of saffronization simply because this is a narrative that suits the BJP, and more importantly because elections are up in the state of Karnataka. So we thought we'll do a recap of events that have taken place, say, in the last 1 year, which possibly has opened floodgates for criticism. Let's begin with March 2022. There was demand for hijab ban in schools. At that point, the argument that was given by the state government was that no religious symbol or any kind of religious teaching can be brought to educational institutions because the priority for students is just their study and nothing else. Then you also had a BJP MLA demanding ban on madrasas. Again, this time around, the argument and the criticism that came from Muslim communities and others was that you're targeting just one specific community. You also had a BJP MLC demanding policy to control population. Then let's shift our focus to what happened in April 2022. Muslim traders were evicted from temple fairs. There was a demand that was drawn for ban on halal meat as well. Again, the question was raised that is this an equal state for every community? If you go back to July 2022, there was again a controversy when Tipu Sultan's chapters were removed from syllabus of class 7 and some others as well. Then in August 2022, you had meat ban during Janmashtami and Ganesh Chaturthi. You also had a political war of words between the Congress and the BJP as they sparred over the Savarkar Yatra. Very recently, just in this month of September, you had Vedic maths that was to be taught to SC/ST students. Here, the criticism was that these classes will happen using scheduled castes and sub-plan and tribal sub-funds, which actually had been set aside by the Rural Development and Panchayat Raj Department. Several Dalit activists and student unions had raised questions to such diversion of funds. And now the most recent one, again in September, where we're now hearing the proposal of wanting Bhagavad Gita to be a part of the school curriculum. So is this actually, as I asked when I started the show, is this for educating students, or is there a saffronization of the education system? Before I take that question to our guest and also to the Education Minister of Karnataka, it's also important to understand what does our constitution say. What does Article 28 of our Constitution say? It clearly says no religious instruction to be provided in any educational institution. It also goes on to say no person attending any educational institution is required to take part in religious instruction. Only trust-run schools can provide religious teachings. Before I go across to a bigger panel, let's first bring in our newsmaker for the evening. Karnataka's Education Minister B.C. Nagesh has taken up the time to join us here on CNN News 18. So thank you so much for taking our time and joining us here this evening. I want to first begin by understanding what is the rationale or why you want Bhagavad Gita to be introduced or taught. Because Article 28 of the Constitution, as I just showed our viewers, says no religious instructions to be provided in any educational institution. So why do you want to teach Bhagavad Gita in schools?
Only thing that, as you know, that we had moral science classes in our when we were studying in the classes. Almost everyone has passed through that such moral science classes. Nowadays, why government has removed moral science, I doesn't know. But the demand is from the parent is that the morality is, means ultimately the purpose of education is to build character also. Vivekananda said the end of education is character. Means character has to be built. To build the character, moral science is the most important thing. So when we are going to have a class of moral science, definitely Bhagavad Gita can be a part of it. Why not Bhagavad Gita should be a part of moral science?
So when are you planning to introduce it? Will we see it in this academic year itself?
Now, as we said that we are going to arrange a seminar in the October first week, I think so. Either, if possible, on Gandhi Jayanti, and we will finalize that things. And by the outcome of that, a committee will be formed, and it will decide what should be in the moral science classes.
Okay. Now I want to talk to you about the criticism that's coming in from the opposition. This isn't the first time that you wanted to introduce it. The opposition is calling this move as a narrative that is suiting the BJP because it is a move of saffronization in the state.
It is unfortunate that opposition doesn't want anything which is of this land. Whatever things which is linked with Hindutva, Congress wants to oppose it. They doesn't want to build the morality among the students. So they oppose it. Whoever wants to see that morality should not be the part of education, they will oppose it. Otherwise, why they are going to oppose it?
No, the reason they're opposing it, sir, is because they're saying there are enough instances being given to show that one particular religion is being prioritized. There is a saffronization that is taking place. The examples that are being given is last week you had Vedic mathematics that was introduced. Now you're talking about Bhagavad Gita to be brought in. The comparison takes us back to when the hijab row was at its peak in the state of Karnataka. At that time, the argument that was given by your state government and by your representatives was that any religious symbol needs to be kept out of educational institutions because the priority for the student or the child is just to study. So isn't this hypocrisy then?
Do you feel Bhagavad Gita is a religious textbook? Has anyone said that Hindu Bhagavad Gita is a religious thing? As you know that Bhagavad Gita doesn't deal anything about worship of God or any religious practices. Bhagavad Gita, as you, I think you have read what Gandhiji has said, what Rabindranath Tagore has said, what Ambedkar has said about Bhagavad Gita. And most of the freedom fighters who have fought for the freedom movement and were jailed for years together, all of them have said that Bhagavad Gita has built the morality and the strength for us to fight for the freedom movement. When it can create some strength among the freedom fighters and to face Britishers, why why should not be Bhagavad Gita introduced in our schools?
No, then the criticism here is that why only Bhagavad Gita? If you're saying that, okay, we take your argument that Bhagavad Gita has got nothing to do with a particular religion, then bring in Quran and Bible as well. But that's not where the criticism ends. The criticism also is that, is this the real priority of the state government? Because in July this year, we also had reported how students were deprived of shoes, socks, uniform, and paucity of funds was blamed at that time, despite a budget that was being allocated. So what is the priority of the state government then?
Who said the textbook has not been distributed? Can you get me one document that the textbook has not gone to the schools? And let they see. Siddaramaiah was distributing books till December, but we have completed everything because of the Ukraine and Russia war. We are unable to print the textbook because the publisher did not get the pulp from Ukraine. Otherwise, we had tendered in the right time. We had given the orders for the textbook printing in the right time because of Russia and Ukraine war. And you media also know what was the shortage of the paper in the country.
Okay. Lastly, I also want to understand another aspect, sir. There are a lot of criticism that's coming your way from the opposition, and they're training their guns, questioning the timing of when all of this is happening. They're saying that this is a narrative that's suiting the polarizing narrative of the BJP, and you're doing all of this because elections are due for the state.
Whenever we speak of Indianization, whenever we speak of Rashtriyate, they feel like that because they are anti. I feel that the nationalism should not come in the country.
Okay. We appreciate you taking out the time, sir, and joining us here on CNN News 18. We'll really have to see what happens after the formation of this committee. So the question that we're asking then this evening is, Gita in with textbooks, education, is it being saffronized in the state of Karnataka? Let me also now bring in our other guests to take this discussion forward. We have spokesperson of Karnataka BJP, Mohan Vishwa. We have political analyst, Sumansi Raman. We also have Dr. C.B. Sharma, professor at the School of Education, IGNOU, and former chairperson, NIOS. We also have Muslim scholar, Maulana Masood Kazmi. Good to have all of you on the broadcast with us. Maulana ji, let me begin the discussion with you. I don't know if you heard my conversation with the Education Minister, B.C. Nagesh. वो ये कह रहे हैं कि भगवत गीता में तो कोई रिलीजियस टोन या टेक्सचर है ही नहीं. आप इसको रिलीजियस लेंस की तरह के साथ क्यों देख रहे हैं? बच्चों को बाकी चीजों की एजुकेशन की भी जरूरत होती है, तो ये तो मॉरल साइंस के पार्ट में आएगा, कोई सब्जेक्ट की तरह से नहीं पढ़ाया जाएगा.
देखिए, मैं ऑनरेबल मिनिस्टर साहब की बात सुन रहा था
जी,
और मैं उनकी बात को रिगार्ड देता हूं, लेकिन भगवत गीता में भी दो एस्पेक्ट्स हैं, एक वे ऑफ लाइफ वाला और एक वे ऑफ प्रीचिंग. वहां प्रेयर्स, टीचिंग हाउ टू प्रे, किस तरह, उसमें वो भी है. एंड द सो हैज अदर बुक्स आल्सो. सो डू द कुरान, बाइबल, तूरा एंड गुरुबानी आल्सो. सेम बाय सेम लॉजिक. कुरान इज आल्सो वे ऑफ लाइफ. तूरा इज आल्सो वे ऑफ लाइफ. Gurbani is also way of life, and Bible is also way of life. My point, in our constitutionally, in our country, no religion has supremacy over other religion. Number one, ideally, we should not have religious education in our secular educational system.
तो सर मदरसा में एजुकेशन क्यों कंटिन्यू है अभी तक? मदरसा में भी तो बच्चों को पढ़ाया जा रहा है. अगर आपका यही आर्ग्यूमेंट है तो फिर बच्चों को मदरसाओं में भी नहीं पढ़ाना चाहिए.
हम आपकी बात से, आपका बहुत अच्छा क्वेश्चन है, लेकिन इसका जवाब भी सुनिए. वी आर अगेंस्ट मदरसा, गवर्नमेंट रन मदरसा एजुकेशन. वी आर अगेंस्ट देम. We are in the view that all the government run madrasa should be converted in the modern school. मुस्लिम लोग अपने इस पे दो आर्टिकल जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ने बताया है, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनली दे कैन एस्टेब्लिश देयर ओन मुस्लिम एंड माइनॉरिटी एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन विदाउट फंडिंग फ्रॉम गवर्नमेंट. वो खुद कर सकते हैं. गवर्नमेंट शुड नॉट फंड द मदरसा. ये हम तो कहना चाह रहे हैं तमाम जो भी मदरसों को गवर्नमेंट पैसा दे रही है या गवर्नमेंट चला रही है उन तमाम मदरसों को बंद कर दो और उनको स्कूल में बना दीजिए।
अच्छा।
टू कन्वर्ट दीज मदरसाज इनटू मॉडर्न एजुकेशन, मॉडर्न स्कूल फॉर द पुअर। लेकिन हमारा कहना ये है गीता, भगवत गीता, कुरान, बाइबल, people should learn at home, at their own schools, but it should not be done on the public exchequer. पब्लिक के पैसों पर, सरकार के पैसों पर, रिलीजियस, that is why we say do away with the Hajj subsidy. That is why we say.
Fair enough. You've made your point, Maulana ji. Let me bring in Mohan Vishwa also. Mohan Vishwa, the criticism is that if you want students to learn all of this, they can do it in their houses by their family members, or you bring everything else in as well. You bring the Quran, you bring the Bible in as well. Because what does our constitution say? Article 28 says no religious instruction to be provided in any educational institution. Then why are you giving only a priority to the Bhagavad Gita?
Ma'am, I just can't understand. Just now our education minister also told very clearly, and it's a settled case that everybody knows, that Bhagavad Gita is just a part of entire Mahabharata. Okay? So when there was a war between, Kauravas and Pandavas, the conflict between the family relationship, the emotions versus the responsibility to be carried out by being a king, and that erupts Mr. Sri Krishna, who was the one who teaches about the difference between the two and what to follow, what not to follow when it comes to responsibility. That too is a war between good and bad. So that is what it's a part of Mahabharata. Nowhere it preaches, nowhere it professes any particular religion, Hindu religion for that matter. And for your information, or for his information, Hindu religion is not having any one particular book like either Bible or Quran which says you have to follow this, you have to do this. It's not a rule book. Come on. Our religion, don't have anything where it says if you don't follow this, so these are the punishments. If you follow this, you should follow like this. No. Hindu religion is not having any such kind of thing. And in our religion, everything is questioned. You would have seen for thousands of years, everything is questioned, answered, and discussed. It is not new for us. So in this case also, Bhagavad Gita is purely a moral science. See, this is the hypocrisy. They are okay with the centuries-old Macaulay education system, which was bought by British just to spoil our education system, which was there for 2000 years. And they are not okay with the Chanakya Niti, who bought up this business principles. At the same time, they are okay with Peter Drucker's principles of management. When they want to adopt the things which are outside India, they will not have any issues, and they call it as a secularism. That too, when you see the green
when
color,
you want to drop symbols of
secularism
colonialism, that's a completely separate debate. Today, we are only focusing as far as what should be the right way to go ahead as far as the curriculum and syllabus and educational institutions are concerned. So, Mansi Raman, the argument that's coming in from BJP and others who are supporting this move is that why are you even seeing this with a religious lens? The idea that we want to bring Bhagavad Gita into the curriculum or the academic session is because we feel that Gita actually teaches a way of life, and it's not going to be brought in as a separate subject. It's going to be part of moral science, something that actually used to be there in the academic curriculum when me and you grew up.
Okay, first of all, should moral science be taught in schools? Absolutely. I think that somewhere in the last 10, 15, 20 years, the fact that we stopped giving education in moral science, I think that was a huge handicap to children who grew up in the last 20 years. So should it be there? Yes. Now the question of Bhagavad Gita comes in because the essence of the Bhagavad Gita may be a way of life, a way of how one should live one's life. But there is the issue of its very strong association with the religion. Now, the Madhya Pradesh High Court said in 2012 that Bhagavad Gita is only a philosophical book and not essentially a religious book. And in fact, even recently, I think in March this year, the National Commission of Minorities, the head of that, Mr. Syed Sahidullah, I think, I don't remember his name. He was also quoted as saying that, he accepts it as a work of philosophy and not really a religious text. But having said that, what are they going to actually teach? Are they going to teach verses from the Bhagavad Gita, which would definitely have certain religious connotations?
Sure.
Or is it going to be the general drift of, say, the essence of how one should live one's life as excerpted from the Bhagavad Gita? There are two different things, and the minister has not really clarified, though he said we are not teaching the Bhagavad Gita itself. We are going to be teaching morals from the Bhagavad Gita. Now, I studied in a Christian school, and we were taught regularly parables from the Bible. We were taught stories from the Bible as part of our moral science class. We never had a problem with it. Of course, it was a private institution. The point is, if the morals from the Bhagavad Gita are going to be taught, there is nothing which should prevent the government from teaching morals from other religious texts also. There is no problem in finding such parables or such illustrations from other religious texts. If they're actually going to be teaching the Gita itself, which the minister actually has refuted, then you have a problem, because there is a certain element of religion which is associated with the Bhagavad Gita.
Okay, fair point that you're making, that we'll still have to see what exactly or which part of the Bhagavad Gita actually is going to be part of the curriculum. But C.P. Sharma, I want to bring you in, and I want to understand from the point of view of an academician or somebody who deals with students and the education system. Like, I remember when I was growing up, we used to have a period of catechism, and people, who wanted to take that class, or students from the Christian community, they would go separately. But it wasn't something that was imposed on all of us. And that is the question that is being raised, that if you actually bring it formally as part of the curriculum, the Bhagavad Gita, aren't you playing with the essential fabric or the idea of what India represents, which is that we take pride in it being multilingual, multi-faith and secular?
Very nice observation and very good example that you give from your own education and life. We need to first distinguish between dharma and religion. What is dharma? Dharma is not religion. It's not a translation of religion. Dharma is good conduct towards others. And Bhagavad Gita is good conduct towards everybody in the society. Let me ask you a question. Is Draupadi a goddess? Do we pray her? And if she is a character in Mahabharata and she is clothed in the public by her own community people, they were also by definition Hindus, then why is this text being revered? Why do Hindus read this and this has existed in the society? Because it's a dharma pustak. It teaches what a society should be like and should not be like. I don't think comparing Gita to Quran or any other religious text is really right. Come and debate Gita. Can I debate Quran? Is the society ready to debate Quran and every action that is said in Quran? No. Gita is an open text. You can criticize Krishna for his actions, for his decisions. We do that as Hindus. I am a Hindu, but I still criticize Krishna for certain actions that he did. It is a dharma pustak. Why are we crying horse in the society when children don't listen to their parents? Why are we so worried when students don't listen to their teacher? Arjun Krishna Samvad is an example of what a teacher and a student should be. I'm also very worried about the example being given of Vedic mathematics. Vedic mathematics has nothing to do with religion. It's a great mathematics that was deliberately put on the back burner so that the Indian method of making mathematics, the Indian mind should not come up.
The reason that example was given because there are multiple problems with that. One, the problem was where the funds were coming from. That's a separate debate. The other was there's already an existing practice and curriculum in place. So you'll actually be disrupting that. How easy will it be for students to cope with it? That's a separate debate. And lastly, the most crucial point was that not many academicians were actually taken into confidence when this was being brought in. But that's a completely separate debate. But sir, that's a completely separate debate. I agree with the point that you're making. And Maulana ji, I want to bring you back in the conversation. आज क्या हमारी प्रायोरिटी ये होनी चाहिए कि हम बच्चों को क्या पढ़ा रहे हैं या ये प्रायोरिटी होनी चाहिए कि कहां से ये आ रहा है?
देखिए सब नो डाउट गीता हैज वेरी गुड आइडियाज. गीता इज द बुक दैट कैन help student to judge what is right and what is wrong. So do other religious books also do. Quran, Bible and also do so. But if you only select one single religious book for school, it means you are giving impression that you are giving supremacy of one specific religious book on other religious books, and that by doing so you are slipping away from the path of tolerance, and this is against the ethos of the secular constitution.
Mohan Vishwa, respond to this specific criticism that we've taken your point. You are saying that it has no religious overtones. This is about teaching students about a way of life. Then can't we do the same with the Bible and Quran as well? I'm sure there are enough lessons for all of us to learn in those scriptures as well.
See, ma'am, the education minister wouldn't have responded the debate, but when you see the assembly session which went on yesterday, when one of the MLC, asked the same question regarding Bhagavad Gita curriculum, so there the education minister was very clear. He said the committee is being formed, the committee is reviewing about which part of Bhagavad Gita, what should be taught, or is there any other moral science places to be taught. So that is what he has given the statement in the assembly. So it's clarified over there. It's not that, we are teaching or we are preaching some religious textbooks. And like one of the gentlemen who said in that debate, it's purely about the moral science which we are speaking. Till now, whenever the moral science was teaching in the school, there was no debate about this. And you said, somebody said in the debate that some part of Bible was taught when he was in Christian school and all. So then, no debate came out. Hindus never opposed it, or they never came out of it. And why only when something related to Hindutva, or when something related to, the Hindu religion or Mahabharata or Ram or Krishna speaks about in the society, why they feel suddenly they are insecure, and why they feel that, why the secular, the front comes up. So I just can't understand. So the education minister has clearly told that a separate committee is formed. They are reviewing it. Post that only, what to be included, what not to be included will be decided. So you can see the proceedings of the assembly session of yesterday. So it is very clear, very categorically mentioned over there.
So Mansi Raman, would you want to respond to what Mohan Vishwa is saying? He is saying there is a pattern that is now emerging. Anything that the state government or the BJP does, the opposition is up in arms saying this is against the secular fabric of the country.
No, but I think that what he's not comprehending is that the constitution demands that we are a secular nation. At the moment, that is the status.
Sure.
Now, the point is, I was taught parables or stories from the Bible because the institution was a private one.
Sure.
Now, the problem is not about Hindu-run schools or private schools teaching Hindu texts. In fact, the Bhagavad Gita is also already being taught in thousands of schools across the country. There is no issue at all. The issue is about a quote-unquote secular government committed to uphold the constitution of this country, wanting to introduce text. I make that point. If they are going to teach generic moral values taken from the Gita, there should be no problem with it. They should also take in moral values from the Bible and the Islamic religious texts and teach them. There's no problem. But if they're actually going to teach the Gita itself, and the minister has clarified saying he doesn't propose to do that, so we'll have to wait and see what the Karnataka government is planning. But I think the importance here is this is part of the Hindutva project that is continuing. We've seen that with the hijab row, which is now in the court, and these are continuing attempts at polarization to strengthen the political base. I don't think this is driven by any great love for imparting moral values into the children. It's basically yet another attempt to polarize and win votes on the back of such polarization, and that is why it is deeply concerning. Not that the Bhagavad Gita, in its essence, is purely a religious text. I don't think so at all.
CB Sharma, I'd like to give you the final word. The point that Sumansi Raman is making, that because we are nearing elections, there is a narrative that suits the BJP, which is of polarization. So they want to go ahead with introducing Bhagavad Gita as well. Since you've spoken in favor about why you think this is needed, talk to us about how do you think this will help students as far as their academics are concerned.
See, my take is purely of an academician. We have great problem disciplining students, and how do we teach them? This whole concept and term of secular education and dharma nirpeksh, ye dharma nirpeksh nahi panth nirpeksh कहना चाहिए. We are not teaching religion. Let us teach good practice, and I believe all the good teachings of Gita must be included. First, second, again I will say that let there be Vedic math.
So we're not teaching religion, we're only teaching good practices, and that will help students across various communities and whatever faith they represent. Unfortunately, I've completely run out of time. I will have to wrap that discussion there. I appreciate all our guests who took out the time to join us this evening. With that, it's a wrap from my side. Plain Speak is up next.